The views expressed here on Now See Here are not necessarily those of the sponsors, advertisers, Jack Chris, the host, or Roddy Merritt. Hello, everyone. Jack Chris here with the Now See Here podcast, and hello to our YouTube audience. We're taping this episode, and we are at CC's Coffee House, of course, where we congregate every Wednesday. SettleMyCase.com is upstairs. I am very pleased to be joined by Miss Allison Walker. So I have to use the cheat sheet, Allison. You are the lady auto mechanic.
Yep. Glad to be here. Thanks for
impressive.
having me.
Yeah, and you've got the croissant there from CC's. It's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
They like it when we promote what they do.
Oh, it's really good.
I have to ask, when I called you to appear on the show, my first question was, all right, Allison, are you a certified mechanic?
Yeah, am I really a mechanic?
I didn't mean it that way. I'm not a misogynist pig or anything, but no. I was wondering if you actually were a certified mechanic, and you said?
Yes, I am. I'm ASE certified.
Here I am knocking the microphone. I tell people not to do it. Why did you get interested in cars? Because in this culture and in Mississippi, you're an anomaly. I mean, most young women don't get into automobiles, or if they do, they're told, stay away.
Yeah, I'll get it. I'll take care of it.
That's right. That's not your place.
That sort of thing.
You didn't do that, obviously.
No, and in fact, I tell men to get away from my car, please, before they tear it up. I've literally always been into cars my whole life, so it's just a matter of when was I going to do it. And I started to go into automotive school when I was in college, when I first went to college, when I was 19 years old, and instead I decided to go to California. So it took me a little roundabout way before I finally went back to automotive college and got my certifications. And I've been working for myself for 6 years. So I've always been a car fanatic. I had car magazines when I was in junior high. I was watching all the Crank and Chrome, the Horsepower TV when I was in college. So just obsessed.
But where did that come from? I mean,
I have no idea. I think it was meant to be. If you believe in God, I believe it's a God thing.
Preordained?
Preordained, because my mom was driving a Gran Torino when I was in her womb. She had a couple of really nice sports cars before that. She named me after NASCAR. So I'm named after the Bobby Allison race car family. And, both of my parents had a little bit of a need for speed situation. So it just came really, really
It's in your blood,
natural.
I guess.
It's in my blood, I guess. So meant to be. I don't know.
So you came back to Mississippi, and what did you do? You said you've always worked for yourself.
Well, I lived down in New Orleans for a little while. Okay. No, I've worked for myself doing car mechanics for 6 years.
I see.
I spent some time I lived in New Orleans for a little while, and then I came back and I moved to Vicksburg, where I'm from, where I graduated high school anyway. And then about 6 years ago, 2013, I was working for Toyota as a service advisor. And I was working so hard. I was working 11-hour days, and eventually it blew my knee out. And I was wrenching on stuff occasionally then, but a friend of mine wanted me to come work on their grandparents' car. No one could fix it. They had all these people look at it or whatever, and I had it running in like 10 minutes or something. It was just a hose off the idle air control valve on the back of the engine, so maybe hard to find or something.
Oh yeah, I could have figured that out just like that. No problem. How do you put gas in again? How do you do that? I'm the guy at BP doing that,
Yeah, so that's what started it, and ever since then I've been working for myself, and that's been 6 years now. Is
there any car you can't work on, or do you think you could feel your way around anything?
Any motor. I've worked on ATVs, lawnmowers. I'm not scared of anything that's a motor, so generally at this point.
You've rebuilt and done all that?
I haven't rebuilt yet. I plan on I rebuilt a school. In school we did a 318 Dodge engine, V8 at Hines Community College. That was a lot of fun. Of course, I love doing that. And I plan on rebuilding my engine for my sports car either this winter or the next winter. It depends on how it runs when I put it in. And so, I'll be rebuilding. So,
Allison, how did your peers, who I assume were 99.9% male, how did they treat you? How was the reaction? Was it, oh, good for you? Or was it, get the hell out of here? You don't know what you're doing, girl?
They were mad.
Really?
I mean, they were straight up jerks to me at school at Hines. And if they ever see this, they know who I'm talking about. There wasn't, but maybe one or two that actually thought this is cool out of a class of like 20. So I got into verbal fights with them and stuff like that, and I was running circles around them on mechanic work, and
Well,
they
that's
just
why,
couldn't
probably.
stand it. Yeah, they couldn't handle it. Well, that was at Hines and Raymond. Then I go to Hines and Rankin to finish out my automotive classes there, and it was a whole different story. Everyone was super nice and thought it was just the coolest thing. So I guess it was
At
just
Rankin?
Yeah, it was just a random experience that Raymond, had such a bad class of kids, and they didn't know what the heck they were doing either.
Well, what about other women? What was their reaction?
Women love it. Women
They're
just
proud
think
of
it's
you.
they think it's really awesome. I'm getting a good reaction from most everyone. That was kind of rare that I had such a bad reaction from them. Some of the younger guys I know that are in our friend group with Roddy knows what I'm talking about, they don't like me. I can tell that they feel, I don't know,
Intimidated, threatened?
I guess. Well, I don't know, Roddy, you tell me. I don't know what their problem is, but I feel like we should all be friends and help each other out. So.
Well, and the other thing I said to you is, and I mentioned this to Roddy, I don't understand why cars or being a mechanic became a male-dominated field to begin with, because women have brains too, right?
Yeah.
And women, we can all do the same thing. It's not a physiological thing. Even that,
Yeah.
you've got women professional athletes who could run rings around any man. So why do you think, where did we go wrong in culture? Where did this stereotype come about?
I think some of it is physiological, because it is very hard work, and there's no way I can tell you right now, in my opinion, I would not do it if I could, is work 40 hours a week doing mechanic work or more. It would have me hunched over and in pain within probably a year.
But you've got women firefighters and cops and in the
do.
military.
They're probably bigger than I am. I'm kind of small for a chick, and not super duper strong, and it wears me out pretty quick. If I go back to back day after day doing it, and I've done that, and it hurt me physically. My back was out and stuff like that from picking up tires and heavy stuff like that. So it may be that. As far as mind, we have a really good if you're a mechanically minded person, not all men are, not all women are.
Yeah.
But when they are good at that sort of thing. And I do encourage, if it's a woman or a man, if you have a mechanical mind, you should do it. If you do not have a mechanical mind, you probably shouldn't be fooling with your car. I fixed too many problems of people who thought they could fix cars. And it was all men.
You had to come up behind them and correct what
all
they
the
did.
time.
It's Allison Walker, the lady auto mechanic here on Now See Here. What's your favorite car to work on, and what's your least favorite automobile?
That's easy. I absolutely love working on Japanese cars, because they're thoughtfully laid out. They're more logically laid out. They use one bolt for one size and for the smaller size, and one bolt for the bigger size, and you're not switching between a bunch of different bolts. I had a friend that worked on his Mini Cooper recently, and it had like 10 different bolt sizes, Torx sizes for just to replace a sway bar. So that's European versus Japanese too. It's not just American. I don't like European does some stuff that I think, what are they doing? That doesn't make sense. But Japanese, every time I've worked on a Japanese car, except maybe a couple instances, it's been very logical, laid out, and a pleasure to work on. As far as cars I do not like working on,
Don't say Buick, because that's what I drive.
I hate Buick's the worst. Buick is the worst. Buick and Cadillac are the two worst. Sorry, Jack.
Well,
sorry.
That's good news for me.
For most of the years, since the late 90s till now, their quality is so low on Chevy products. They're pretty awful. But the thing that drives me crazy, and this goes for Dodge too, and a little bit of Ford, they have electrical problems like crazy. It's this is going out, then this is going out, and this is going out, and it's just.
I've got that in Buick.
It's
bad electrical problems.
Every little component.
You're beating up
has
the
a
table
problem.
again, Allison. Watch it.
Oh, sorry. It's like, and you fix this one thing, and then it's another, and then that thing goes bad again that you just fixed, and so they're not made well from the beginning, so it makes it hard to keep up with the repairs on them.
Okay, what about these ads for cars that come out and say, all right, name number one in car and driver? Does that mean anything to you? Is that
if it's
a sign of quality?
consumer based, yeah, I like that. I do not like JD Power, if that's what you're asking. JD Power, basically, they do questionnaires, and if it favors Chevy, they'll sell it to Chevy. If it favors this,
Really?
they'll sell it to that. So it's a little bit biased in that way of who will pay for to say J.D. Power, this, that, and the other. And obviously Chevy is more than happy to pay for that. So their tests tend to lean in their direction. But it also, J.D. Power, if you catch it, it says initial quality, which means off the showroom floor. It doesn't mean 10 years down the road, which is what really shows whether a car is good or not to me, is at about the 8-10 year mark, and that's when I like to start really looking at quality.
What do you think about my best friend Kinsella yesterday went out and bought a new BMW. He's a BMW guy. I've got a friend who's a Mercedes guy. Everybody says that's the creme de la creme. You agree with that?
No.
I mean, they're not Japanese cars, but...
No, I don't. I don't agree with that. Mercedes, they'll have little niggling problems, and BMW, they've got a little host of problems. They're not as good as Japanese cars. There's no chance of that. And that some of their models are extremely reliable and well built, just not every single last one, and they have problems. And the thing about BMW and Mercedes, if you have a problem with them, it may not be that much in labor to fix it. It may be the same as another car, but the part will be crazy high.
Expensive.
Yeah, unless there's a company that makes an aftermarket part, they can be insane. I know on my friend's Mercedes recently, she had to get her CV axles replaced, and they were like $1,000 a piece, when normally a CV axle is like $150, $200. So that's bananas.
Have you ever, I got to ask this question, have you ever, as a woman who knows mechanics inside and out, and is obviously an attractive woman, have you ever just,
Well, thank you.
have you ever for kicks just walked into a mechanic shop and say, oh, I've got a problem with my car, can you help me? Just to see how honest they are. And
Oh, right. Well, no, I've actually
A
had to
little
use
prank.
mechanic shop. That's one thing I think that gives me an edge over other mechanics is I have been the consumer. There were things I wouldn't do on my own car that I didn't have the knowledge, so I had mechanics I took it to.
But have you ever played dumb just for the hell of
Oh,
it?
no.
Oh, you
no.
should.
But I tell you what,
We'll follow you with
it
the
didn't
camera.
matter because they tried to rip me off too. So, I mean, if they're a bad shop, they don't care what you know. They're going to do what they want to do. And I had that experience, and I've had experience with wonderful shops who did what they said they're going to do for a good price.
The next question then, people like me who don't know about cars, what should we look for or what questions should we ask in trying to ascertain whether or not a mechanic is honest or not? Or can we? Well, can we even find out?
Oh, man.
Besides bring you along or Roddy, what can we do?
It's hard. It usually takes having an interaction with them at least one time where you have them repair something. Did they do it correctly? Did it take a long time? It shouldn't. Did it cost a fair amount of money, or was it crazy high? And also, I will say this, the chain shops versus independent shops is a huge difference. I highly recommend getting your oil changed at a small independent shop and establishing a relationship. So when you have something major, you have someone you trust to take it to.
Right.
You also know they're not going to mess up that drain plug, which happens a lot on chains. But like Firestone, Goodyear, those are big chain shops. I've seen them charge insane amounts for just minor repairs and stuff. I don't trust them at all. They're a big chain. If you think about it, their shareholders are trying to make money. But the smaller independent shops, they're usually better. And ask them, if you're speaking to the owner, are you ASC certified? Do you keep your certification up? And don't be afraid to ask that.
Well, in your experience, do you think most mechanics are honest?
No.
Really? You think they're going
Not
to
at
try and
all.
find an extra buck? Or
I think it's either that, either they're trying to make some extra money because it's hard work and you don't make the money we probably should, so people get shady. I've seen that happen, especially with older mechanics who've been doing it a long time and they need money. They're trying to get by and they start getting shady. Or someone has shown them how to be shady and they're like, oh, well, if I just do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The other thing is you have mechanics who literally don't know what they're doing. So they're not doing that well. So that's a lot. That's a lot of mechanics. And I think that's sort of the fatal flaw of men should be the only ones working on cars. Men think I should be able to do this. So I have seen mechanics get in there and work in shops just because they're a man. They're providing for their family and they hate their job. they don't really know what they're doing and they're not passionate about it. So they make mistakes, or it takes them forever to do something simple, or they diagnose stuff wrong, and that causes a big problem. We need people who are passionate about the industry to be in there doing mechanic shop. We also need to respect mechanics more for what they do. It's really hard, and when they do a good job, we need to scream it out to the tops of our lungs that this is a good mechanic. They know what they're doing.
And you can do that on Facebook now. But
yeah,
I've got a business idea for you. Why don't you start a national company called Ladies Only? And have only female owned.
Only chick mechanics.
Yes. And I think it would be, there's a novelty there, but it would also be all are welcome and comfortable. It's almost like an all-female gym. You know,
if we
no
could get
intimidation.
enough women to sign up, we need more.
I bet you could.
I think maybe in the next few years, maybe you'll start seeing more mechanic women going through the certification process, going to school for it. I
That's
don't know
changing,
what it will.
you think?
Yeah, I would like to think it is. I'm going to do my part to tell people, give them a chance. I'm not going to sit here for a second and say every last one of them's good just because they're a woman. They need to prove themselves just like anyone else.
Sure.
But I'm real picky when it comes to that. But I think we're going to see it more. We definitely are seeing more women in racing, which is awesome.
Yeah.
There's definitely been an upswing, and we're winning. We're out there doing really, really good.
Now, you do your own show or host your own program, do you not?
I have autocorrect
Tell
on
us about
MPB.
that.
On our local Mississippi Public Broadcasting radio station, I have a radio show called Autocorrect that comes on every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. And we also have podcasts. So if you have a podcast app, you can look up Autocorrect. And we have YouTube videos, which I'm not sure how to get to it on YouTube. When you put Autocorrect in, it starts playing all these goofy videos of Autocorrect having misdone things.
That's like Now See Here. We're going through the same thing.
Yeah, it's like, what can you Google to look it up? But we do have YouTube audio of our shows too, and I've been doing that since September of last year every week, and that's been absolutely wonderful. I love it. Roddy will be on the show tomorrow to talk about the new cars coming out for 2020 and the lineup for that. So we have guests on occasionally.
Yeah, this is Wednesday the 31st, so I don't know when your show will come on, but we'll promote that. Yeah, we'll promote that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Is there one car you haven't worked on that you would love to really work on?
I have an affinity
Buick
for a
Lucerne,
Lotus.
right? A
No,
Buick
God,
Lucerne?
that's like the worst. I'm joking.
Man,
it is
I may be
pretty bad.
walking home the way she's talking.
I have worked on a Porsche, but I didn't get to really do much to it. I was just diagnosing some problems with it, and I didn't get to repair. But yeah, I want to get a little more involved in Porsches because from what I'm understanding, as I'm learning more about them, they're a very reliable, well-made car. And that, to me, is my biggest interest probably in cars is it well-made? Yeah. I don't care how fast it goes. Well, I do care how fast it goes, but but that's not the be-all, end-all. I love a car that's well-built and will last a long, long time, and that's my favorite thing about cars.
Allison, have you had little girls or young girls come up to you and say, wow? You know, have you made that impression?
I've had some when I told them what I do, and I knew they were interested in cars. It's like, you can be a mechanic too. It's like they're looking at me, and you can see the wheels turning. They're like, You know, no one ever told me, hey, you should be in the car industry. No one ever said anything to me about it because it's so unheard of. I think if it had crossed their mind for a second, like, you know, maybe she needs to be a journalist in the automotive industry or something, then I would have pursued that. Instead of taking off to California, I would have stayed here and finished out my automotive classes. I was enrolled in everything, and I left for California. So, yeah, I highly encourage women to think there's so many different jobs in the automotive industry. It's not just mechanic work. There's product development in like at O'Reilly's and, you know, working at auto parts store. There's different positions in a dealership that's service advisor, service manager. We could really use some women service managers. And I think that would really change dealerships. Yeah, Roddy has worked at a dealership, and he knows that is a predominantly male dominated industry. Is the service part of the dealerships, and I think that's caused a lot of the distrust that we have with them over the years, and I think we could use some women's honesty, I guess, up in there.
I'm just surprised we're still having the conversation about this in 2019. And you're in Mississippi. We're more of a conservative state, you know. But
Yeah.
I do see this changing, and you're obviously going to be part of, or you are leading the charge, as
Yeah.
it were.
Yeah, I hope so.
What's the future for you? Are you going
Well-
to go into ownership, or tell us?
God, it's like it's hard for me to make up my mind. I definitely need to do podcasts and YouTube videos, but something that I need to do before I'm done with my radio show, which I don't plan on ever ending doing, but I need to do a book or two, and I'd love to do some books in general, and even if it's just the audio books or something like that. But also, I'm really, really interested in having a show on Netflix that's an informative show, not the hot rod and fabrication and let's make this, well, no offense to people who have their cars on there, but rich people's cars nicer. I want to work on your everyday stuff and help people. Someone come in with a check engine light and we sit there and diagnose it and have a good time doing it, and I think it'd be a lot of fun and entertaining.
Maybe like a Jay Leno's Garage. Have some celebrities.
Kind of like that.
Like me and Roddy.
Oh,
Roddy,
I'd love to do that. Yeah, that'd be great.
Well,
y'all be welcome on there.
look, we have such a huge following and audience. I'm sure you'll get a call from the network, from Netflix tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Or whenever the
That'd be
show
great.
goes up.
Facebook, Instagram, The Lady Auto Mechanic. That's how you can find me for anything you need. Any questions?
It's been a pleasure. I just hope in exchange for me having you on the show, you'll take a look at my car.
Yeah, I'll have a look at it. No problem.
But I just want to hear good news. It's like when I go to the doctor. Don't tell me anything bad. Tell me something good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's Miss. Boy, this is tough. Okay, it's Miss Allison Walker, the Lady Auto Mechanic. Give us a website, or how can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more or
I
get
do
to know
all the
you?
social media, the Facebook, the Instagram. On both of those, I'm the Lady Auto Mechanic, and I tweet the Lady Auto Mechanic. And that's the best way to keep up with me and see what I'm doing. I go racing. I race autocross, and I'll be doing that this weekend. That's going to be a lot of fun. So you'll see posts from there. I may do a live video. I do that sometimes when I race, and that's the main way to keep up with me. And other than that, look up my podcast, Autocorrect, and have a listen. The show's pretty good, and I think we're very competitive with other podcasts out there.
Do you have any other hobbies, or is this what you live,
Yes.
eat, breathe? Okay.
I'm a musician.
I was worried about it. Oh,
a
okay.
really bad one, but I enjoy doing
Well,
it.
you know what? You could be the Lady Auto Singing Mechanic. How about that?
Really
That's a
bad.
new one for you. All right, Allison, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Jack Chris, now see here. Our YouTube audience, thanks for watching. And Roddy Merritt behind the board. Thanks to CC's Coffee House, as always, for having us. I'm Jack Chris. Until we talk again, take care.